Hello, I'm David Gerard, and this is Pivot to AI, coming to you daily, Monday to Friday. Today, we have part of our interview series, which I want to get into. This is our good friend, Kim Crawley, who I've spoken to a couple of times before. Now, Kim, please introduce yourself to all the people who've never heard of you before.
All right. Well, I was a enterprise cybersecurity professor at the Open Institute of Technology, and then they decided to force turn me in Gen AI onto students as of the semester starting in September 2025, and not wanting to be part of that horror, disgusting. I quit. So I also founded an organization called Stop Gen AI, and I'm generally an enterprise cybersecurity expert, supposedly. And I'm in the first Tribe of Hackers book. That's my big claim to fame. And I've got a new book Kickstarter called Recovering After Gen AI.
So it's like writing a blog, except that you do it one lump every 6 months.
More than every 6 months, because I need the Kickstarter money to live now.
Oh, yes. But that's okay. The books do well. How'd the last one go? We spoke about the last one, the Techno-Fascism Survival Guide. That went quite well, didn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I raised quite a bit of money off of that one. I think it was about nearly $13,000 Canadian. And
That sounds like half a year's living, more or less, nearly,
well, no.
if you live on beans. No,
Yeah.
that's excellent. Making money from writing is something I'm a big fan of.
Yeah.
So the new one, Recovering from Gen AI, is your Kickstarter's going quite well. It's got a lot of, evidently, you're writing something that people like and want more of. Now, this is an obvious thing. The bubble's going to crash. It's just going to crash. They've tried to make generative AI chatbots as load bearing as they possibly can, which is jaw droppingly dumb because these things don't work. And it's going to be a huge mess. So we found ourselves sometime in, let's say, 2027. There's burning effigies made of garbage of Sam Altman on every street corner. And what are the survivors to do in the rubble?
That is an excellent question.
Which you're trying to answer.
One of the best things that any ordinary person can do right now is to avoid using Gen AI as much as humanly possible. I have a lot of sympathy and empathy and compassion for people who are being forced to use Gen AI at work. And I know that it's not a great idea to quit one's job, considering how deep into late stage capitalism we are right now and how difficult jobs are to come by. So, but as much as you possibly can without losing your survival income job, use Gen AI as little as possible. Like, consider it to be the plague and run away from it. Because one of the big problems that I anticipate from the aftermath of Gen AI is a lot of people delegating their thinking to the bots for long enough that when they lose the bots, they're going to have mental breakdowns and whatnot. So that's why, in the process of researching my book, I'm going to make sure that I speak with psychologists who are aware of this problem.
Yeah, it's not just people who are deep into the, we can only call it AI psychosis. That's not a diagnosis, that's the casual use of the term. But yeah, I mean, when I touch the stuff, I treat it like I'm wearing a lead suit and dealing with radioactive material with prongs. I have to touch the stuff because I'm writing about it, so I have to touch the bot occasionally, and it always feels icky. But yeah, it's what can we do for people? Like, eventually, a lot of people are just going to have to go, well, darn it, I'm going to have to use my brain now. Everybody having a brain. I'm going to have to, how do I program again? Do I get left pad off NPM? You know, that sort of thing. But
Yeah,
what do
there's
we
so
do?
many people who have been fooled into thinking that it's an all-knowing oracle when it's actually wrong the majority of the time because it's just repeating word patterns. So
I think it's worse that it's right 90% of the time, say, and that means 10% of it is, like a friend of mine says, the greatest misinformation machine ever built.
yeah. So
Google AI overviews.
you and I both know, for example, Reddit's monetization model these days is training Gen AI. And say there was a subreddit that had an inside joke that London was the capital of Japan, and the people in that subreddit kept saying London is the capital of Japan. Chances are that would mean that ChatGPT would start telling people that London is the capital of Japan because
It's
it's a
fantastic.
sequence of words that they see as a pattern in their training data.
It's so incredibly stupid. There's a lot of people who are work as programmers are going to have to learn how to code again and remember all that stuff from their degree. It's like you see people. The worst I've seen. This was like there was a feature in the Register where the sarcasm of the author didn't quite come through, but he was writing about someone who wrote an X server. He wrote it in pure machine code, pure assembly code. He used a chatbot to do it. He started with the C code and got the chatbot to go through it and write it in assembly. We have these. These are
Yeah.
called compilers. And you type make and the project compiles the code in a determinate way. And it's like they've literally forgotten how to do their actual jobs. It's
Yeah, there was
bizarre.
a pioneering computer scientist. I believe her name was Grace Hopper. Grace Hopper. And she developed the first compiler ever because she
Obviously, that
wanted
was
to
only
make,
an early step on the path to
she was
chatbots.
a master mathematician and she wanted to make computer programming more accessible to people who were not master mathematicians. And yeah, I mean, compilers have existed for decades longer than I've been alive, and I'm in my 40s now, so
We're past compilers. We don't need compilers anymore. We've got Claude.
it,
It's
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 so
nuts.
it's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. Um, One thing, and I take full responsibility for the blowback for saying this, but the the last book that I wrote for O'Reilly Media, Hacker Culture A to Z, or A to Z in American English, was one of the last non-tech manuals that O'Reilly Media published before Tim O'Reilly decided that he loves Gen AI and wants to make his editors use it as much as possible. And the content director of my book was under a lot of stress because of that. You want the lying chatbot to interfere with your editing work, like getting a magic 8 ball into the process, right?
I'm
And so
still baffled. Like,
I'm
how are you
really,
supposed to
really,
use
really,
chatbots in writing? How are you supposed to do that?
I'm really, really concerned, and it's so disturbing, right? Like, it's really, if more and more people knew about that from mid 2024 onward, uh, new O'Reilly Media books have been sloppified, that wouldn't be very good for their brand.
Well, it's not great, but I think back to all the O'Reilly books that I had tremendous amount of respect for, and then I thought a bit more, and I realized they were all published in like up to the mid 2000s.
Yeah.
The Postgres book from last decade was pretty good, but that sort of thing. But it's a bit sad to see. There's probably a place for this sort of thing, but it's for technical books that people will actually buy, but it's getting smaller because they can ask the chatbot and get a wrong answer or a wrong command line.
The tech debt, that's another thing that my book is going to cover. There's going to be, well, already there is such immense tech debt
Amazing.
because the majority of the software that people rely upon every day gets updated through the internet. And there's going to be more and more slop code breaking things. And although we don't have absolute 100% confirmation, it's a very probably accurate assumption that, and this is an allegation, so for the sake of legalities, this is an allegation. The fact that Windows 11 has had updates that have broken it so frequently over the past couple of years is most likely slop code being a major factor in that.
I'm actually surprised that I don't know that of a smoking gun evidence for this, so I must note that. But also, it feels like the most vibe-coded garbage ever seen. It's just so bad. And they've had to extend Windows 10 support again so that all the gamers won't just go, bugger that, I'm going to SteamOS. It's what do you think will happen with the cleanup on that?
Yeah, and then I was going to say there's also all kinds of enterprise software that directly impacts ordinary people, but they don't see because they don't directly interface with it. So, like most of our content on the web these days is off of like AWS's infrastructure or Azure's infrastructure, or a little bit off of Google Cloud and Salesforce and whatnot. And so a lot of these services are running off of IaaS, like virtual machines that the enterprise is managing themselves off the infrastructure. But a lot of it is PaaS, so the platform as a service. Who knows how much SaaS is integrated to all of that sometimes. And that's really disturbing too, because it's like they have control of that infrastructure. If they wanted to implement their platform more into enterprises' infrastructure as a service, that would be a big problem. And that would affect so many different websites. AWS has had some embarrassing outages over the past year or so.
Caused by vibe code.
Yeah, caused by vibe code and also caused by firing senior engineers who knew the little quirks about how AWS handles DNS and various that. And so
Yeah.
that's another big problem that my book will cover is what Gen AI is doing to the workforce. We've got most people in Gen Z or Gen Z in American English who are finding it difficult to even enter the workforce, even to work at McDonald's, right? You don't get seniors without hiring juniors and them acquiring experience over the years. You get more and more responsibility and whatnot. That's going to be a massive problem. So it seems like Gen AI is being used as an excuse to not hire or displace juniors more than seniors. But still, that means that there's not going to be a lot or anyone to make seniors.
Yes. It's obviously an excuse. The actual reason is because the economy is going down, and even the people who are doing well are feeling a little trepidatious,
But
and
what
so they always want to fire everyone as well, of course, because
But what about all these headlines that we're getting now about how so many different companies thought that they could fire all these people and replace them with various Gen AI implementations? And then they realized that the tokens are now becoming super expensive and the Gen AI is not replacing what the people they fired were doing, and they regret the decision.
if only a few thousand more people had told them.
But so those news headlines infer that those people lost their jobs because the employers thought that Gen AI could substitute.
You can tell the AI was an excuse. In most cases, there's actually like bad numbers, which is behind it. There's numbers that are going down, like suddenly revenue is down a bit, and so on. It's not good.
Beyond Gen AI, why are they getting rid of juniors more than seniors?
Because juniors aren't useful yet. You have to train them, and training is anathema. Now, you might think that's stupid, but it turns out that's actually the thinking. So they thinking longer than 3 weeks ahead is not businesslike. So I hear. Uh, but I expect there to be a disaster of the companies as the companies themselves crash. Um, and a lot of them, frankly, had it coming, but it's sort of bad for the people who work there. So
Absolutely.
it's having an economy go crash is like quite bad for the people in the economy.
And I feel pretty confident that we've been in a recession for quite a while now. It's just that the economic metrics are not based on how the masses are doing. They're based on what the minority of very wealthy people, how they're doing. So that's the only reason why it's not officially a recession, but we've definitely been in a recession. Wow.
We have numbers that show the evidence. For instance, defaults on car loans started picking up around 2024. That means people on the ground who spend 100% of their income are not doing so well. That's not good for an economy.
That also aligns with my income plummeted.
And mine.
Yeah.
But it's fabulous. So I'm sure
Well, I
we're all
need
doing
people
great.
to pledge for my book because that's my main source of income now.
You're telling me. But
But you know what?
please.
People should also be buying these. I think that would be a good
They
idea.
absolutely should. Do we have the matching? No, you have the side-by-side one.
Yeah.
Yes. It's very good.
Link in the
So
description.
the what will we do when we're there in the ruins of the economy living on rocks? Like, I think that the people who will do well in an economic disaster, you have to know your neighbors' names. If you know who your neighbors are, then you have people you can talk to. It's strictly how many neighbors you know in a disaster. It's how many people you can call your friend group, you know. Trying to make a business out of cleaning up the rubble. Like, I'm idly chatting with people. We've done no actual thing yet about possibility of doing an AI cleanup squad sort of consultancy, because some of us have done the actual work of cleaning up vibe code messes. So it's a thing you can do.
And one thing that I hear is it's a lot easier to debug human created bugs because at least they make a human kind of sense than slop bugs.
Yeah, that was Alex Tax 1A on Mastodon who pointed out that precise thing. In a bad human patch, even if it's a bad, stupid patch that's wrong, line 10 relates to line 1. And in a chatbot patch, line 10 has no relation to line 1. They're both just some statistical average of previous functions the chatbot has read. And that's why it doesn't make sense. That's why a lot of people report that reviewing chatbot patches is really fatiguing. It's tiring. You get really tired really quickly. Your brain runs out of attention. You go, well, you're paying me to use the chatbot. Looks good to me. And you get what you deserve. And you paid for this, you get it. But it sort of lacks something for any code you give a hoot about. And a lot of people are doing this already, cleaning up messes. I need to write up a thing on this at some point. How people do the AI vibe code superfund site cleanup.
And that's a great comparison. And that's something you're using American terminology there. Super fun.
Toxic waste dump.
Yes.
Toxic waste
Yeah,
dump.
that's the US government program to deal with their toxic waste dump.
The trouble with being on the internet and talking about coding is you end up speaking American whether you want to or not.
Sorry.
us civilized people have to do what we can.
Well, you're an Australian in Scotland. I'm a Canadian in Canada. So, yeah, feel the grief.
So with the book, what sort of areas, go through some of the outline of areas you plan to cover.
Yeah,
I assume you haven't written much yet, but you've got a buttload of notes.
Absolutely. And I've been making contact with subject matter experts in a wide range of fields. So first of all, environmentalists. And one of the environmentalists whom I'm closest to now is Jerry McGovern, who is going to be the subject of one of the webinars I'm doing along with you.
Excellent.
And he wrote a really great book called 99th Day. And so I'm going to speak with him and hopefully some other environmentalists, because this is all accelerating the climate disaster. And we're feeling the effects of it right now, and you're definitely feeling the effects of it in the UK in your non-air conditioned homes.
Yeah.
And then there's the damage to the power grid. So I believe there's actually going to be parts of the power grid that will be damaged. One of the reasons why Gen AI is going to end in the next couple of years, beyond the financial bubble popping, is in my book and in my Kickstarter campaign page, I cite multiple bits of research from MIT, from the United Nations, from Harvard Science Review about how Gen AI data centers are literally unsustainable according to the laws of physics. And
Yeah.
although there's been research and development into fusion power for decades before I was born, we still don't have fusion power. And wind and solar are great, but they don't produce as much electricity as a massive electricity absorbing monster, right? So adding wind and solar to the power grid is great for moderate, normal electricity growth and moderate, normal growth of electricity needs. But it's not enough electricity added to make up for the absolutely absurd multiple nations worth of electricity that this bullshitting techno fascist Ouija board, Magic 8 Ball demands like some greedy Lovecraftian horror. You'd like Lovecraft.
It
Yeah.
helps that a lot of this is pure fantasy.
So that's why like we don't have the ability to generate enough power for all these data centers that they
That we
want
don't
to
have the
add.
ability to build.
Yeah. So just
It's
by the laws of
everything is
physics,
bottlenecked on everything else, and they're still talking about it like they can just cut and paste another data center off their clipboard, and they don't work like that.
no. People are experiencing blackouts and brownouts. People in poor neighborhoods near data centers are getting, they're getting electricity bills that they could never ever afford. Like you give a welfare recipient a $5,000 electricity bill.
Yeah. Or more simply, the small little kids in South Memphis getting asthma from Grok's nitrous oxide pumping gas turbines. It's like ridiculously obnoxious behavior.
Yeah.
And because they can. There was once a time when Elon Musk was talking ecology and energy transition, and he was saying good things. And he was actually, I'll go so far as to say, Musk was doing some good work because he was talking to politicians who went, Mr. Musk. And then actual energy transition people could do things and say, right, now this is what you actually do. And then he went Bitcoin, and I went, Elon, mate, you had a job. And it was very disconcerting, very disappointing. I was fooled by Musk way longer than I should have been, but that was the crack.
I'm glad that you eventually woke up. Yeah.
But yeah,
Now everyone knows that he's horrible.
amazing fellow.
Uh, so there's that. So yeah, they're physically unsustainable. And then the other major reason why Gen AI is not going to keep going on is because of model collapse.
Oh yeah, it's hilarious. It's happening already. Goblins in OpenAI,
So it's
goblins in
basically, yeah.
ChatGPT.
So it's basically like mad cow disease for computer data.
It's fabulous. The supercomputer will bootstrap itself to super mad cow disease.
Yeah. So basically, you don't feed something itself, which is why cannibalism is taboo in human societies. And you don't feed beef to cows.
The AI centipede.
Yeah.
But
So when people keep saying, "Oh, but it might get better over time," no, the exact opposite.
it literally can't. It so chatbots, large language models, are the epitome of a technology that's at the top of its S curve. It's gone all the way up, and it topped out around 2023, and now they're just spending thousands more tokens than they did before to get slightly supposedly better results. I don't know how you measure that. They have benchmarks, but all the benchmarks are marketing. They're all fake. But it's a tricky.
They got people who their brains are atrophying, so I'm going to cover the psychological aspect, and then the sociological aspect of that. And then I'm really concerned about children because although adults have had some practice actually reading a web page for information they want or going to a library, children these days aren't being taught how to do that. They're being taught by their own schools most of the time to just accept the AI summary.
And it's like, what can we do for the kids after that? There was a lot of whining that COVID would ruin people's education, keeping kids home and not having them die and stuff. But instead, the same people are going, let's use the chatbot. So thankfully, many kids are extremely cynical about this. In my experience, the kids are all right, actually. They know that they know when they're being cheated. Unfortunately, that doesn't give them the tools to stop being cheated. And like, I was a bright kid. I was bright at schoolwork when I was at school, but I was not an assiduous worker. I would happily have used a homework machine if it would have saved me doing the stupid homework. And I can see why people would, but because it sort of feels stupid.
And it's not like using a calculator because a calculator will either not work or give you the correct answer.
Yes. It's so it's a reasonable sort of thing to be concerned about. So what can the kids do? Say you're 15 years old and you're in the post-chatbot era and suddenly you have to think with your brain. Let's assume that you are sufficiently plugged into the world to know about this discussion. What do the kids do?
I would recommend, obviously, children are powerless, unfortunately. But if you're 15 years old, hopefully you have a parent who lets you go around the neighborhood on your own. And so in that case, I would recommend be a real rebel. You would be really a super rebellious teenager if you went to your local library and you learned the Dewey Decimal System and you made a habit of just browsing the library and looking at books that interest you the old-fashioned way. And if you did that as a teenager, you would be a real rebel.
You would certainly get ahead easily.
So, like, read real books, or, I believe ebooks count as real books too. And most libraries these days, you can borrow ebooks as well. If you can't physically get to your local library, most public libraries these days can lend you an ebook.
So the answer is the kids need to read.
Yeah.
What do the adults do? What do we do about AI? So what do we do about the adults who have spent their last 2 years hooked to a chatbot, and suddenly the chatbot goes away?
Wean yourself off of it. Literally only use Gen AI when your employer has their figurative gun to your ear to use it. Use Gen AI as little as possible. That would be a major benefit. Read real books. Go to use like noai.duckduckgo.com and search for web pages and visit the web pages. There's also other resources like Project Gutenberg. Project Gutenberg has a massive free ebook collection, and it's all public domain books, and there's a whole wealth of excellent public domain books out there.
Okay, we are going at length. Is there anything we haven't talked about concerning the book that people need to know, apart from so the Kickstarter giving you all your money?
The Kickstarter campaign officially ends on August 5th, so you can support me for as low as about $12 US by pledging to back to get a copy of the ebook. I would really appreciate it. We've got a series of webinars coming up really, really soon. David, you're one of the subjects. Tant, who is our German programmer guy who has a lot of smart ideas about how crap the tech industry is. We're going to do a webinar, I believe, this weekend. The 18th is Saturday. Yeah.
Yep, that'll
So if
be
this is out
tomorrow
before,
as people see this.
if this episode is out before Saturday, I'm speaking with him on the 18th. But then there's you, and there's Matt of Say No to Big Tech, and there's Jerry McGovern, and there's our friend Stephen Ferrugia. Are all going to be
Excellent.
people who I have webinars with next week, and we're going to just have spontaneous conversations about what do we do in the aftermath of Gen AI. Pledging to support the book is not necessary in order to attend one of these free webinars.
Oh, Steve Ferrugia is Faster and Worse, who is also one of the vital unpaid interns at Pivot to AI.
Oh wow! Well, then he's going to be great. He's a really smart guy. He's got a lot of great ideas. So I'm looking forward to that webinar a lot. So you are going
I
to.
run the thumbnails past him and he says, yeah, do this, tweak that, because he's actually a designer.
So we will link to the webinar schedule in the show notes as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's all in there. So let me see. Where can people find Kim Crawley?
Yeah. So kimcrawley.com. kimcrawley.com links to all my things. I also have a link to my Kickstarter campaign right at the top. So if you somehow don't click on the links in the description here, all you got to do is remember kimcrawley.com and then go to the top of the link tree page that will
And of course, stopgenai.com.
stop Gen AI. And there's also a link to the Kickstarter campaign on the homepage now, and all kinds of information about the upcoming webinars. And the webinars are hosted by a web app, which is embedded into the Stop Gen AI website.
So people don't have to go anywhere. It works in Firefox and in Chrome?
Yeah, it works in all
Excellent.
major browsers. I've tested it. And you just have to, there's no registration required. You just need to show up on the web page when it's time for the webinar.
Fantastic. Okay. So people, if you have $12 or even a bit more, throw it at Kim. It's pretty good. I recommend this. Okay. Thank you very much, Kim, for coming along today. And thank you to all the Pivot to AI viewers. We will see you on Monday. Bye for now.